Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So this week I want to talk to you guys about upper body extension in the backswing and how that can affect power production and mobility. Not having enough extension or demonstrating too much extension in the backswing can be a major reason as to why I'm seeing a lot of issues with a lot of players that I'm teaching. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And if you are visiting my channel for the first time, please subscribe to see more golf-related content. Okay, so I'm just going to explain a few things from the front view. Apologies if there's any shadows, things like that. I'm just in a new facility for the time being. But when I kind of explain extension to my players, I first get them to understand that there's three primary movements with the body in the backswing. And the first is obviously just rotation, kind of just turning my chest and my hips like this. Okay, and extension is, since you're standing from kind of a bent forward position at address, all extension is just you kind of straightening up and kind of getting your chest to bend backwards more, okay? Just kind of like this. And then the third movement is tilts, okay? That's just you bending from right to left. And throughout the backswing, since your lead shoulder will typically be lower than the trail shoulder, then your body is staying kind of on a slight tilt there, okay? So when it comes to extension, when you make the backswing, if players lack extension, when they rotate, they'll see that you can see that I'm bent forward from the hip, and you can see that my chest is down as well. But when I stay flexed forward like this, you can see that there's a lot more head movement. So your head is going to tend to move more off the golf ball to the right, and you'll see that my hands stay very, very low. Okay, and that's because since my chest is down, my shoulders and my arms don't have enough range of motion to get very high or far back behind me. Okay. Now, if you compare this position, a flex forward position, versus a position with more extension in there, you can see that automatically, without me having to change much, just adding that extension movement in, my hands have gotten much higher, the club's further back behind me. So if you are one of those players that can recognize that you move your head quite far off the golf ball in the backswing, then extension, learning to kind of add more extension or to ensure that you have enough extension can help you keep your head in the same place. And that's another thing that I tell a lot of my players is that extension movement is what helps you keep your head basically in the same place throughout the whole swing. So that's why it's really, really important. Also, if you feel like you have a very short backswing and you just physically thought that you're not able to get the club very far back behind you, you just naturally thought you had a shorter backswing, then again, ensuring that you have enough upper body extension can actually get your hands to move a lot more, give you more range of motion, and that should give you a lot more potential for distance. It's just so you can see it from the side view. If you make a backswing with not enough extension, you can see my arms aren't very high. My hands are actually more rounded than usual. And if I just add extension in, you can see how much more my hands get high, how much more range of motion there is, and how much the club gets further back behind me. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you are a player that may overextend or demonstrate too much extension in the backswing, kind of like this, okay, you can see that my chest points up, but then kind of points up too much. And you can see when that happens that my lower body will start to move away from the target and my upper body will start to be positioned further in front of my lower body, otherwise known as a reverse pivot. Okay. Now, when you get into a reverse pivot, it'll do a number of things that are really damaging to the golf swing. And one is that if you're in a reverse pivot position, that'll actually encourage the swing direction to be more degrees from out to in. And also, it may give your arms too much range of motion to where a lot of these players will overswing the club. Okay? So if you do feel like you overswing it, then again, extension is a really important movement to ensure that you do enough of and not too much of, because again, it's going to just give your shoulders and arms a lot of range of motion. It'll be much harder to control when to stop your arms in your club. So how do you know how much extension to have, and what do you look for? So if you're filming yourself from the face-on view, there's just a couple things that you can look for that'll kind of ensure you that you're kind of extending enough. But if you are extending well in the backswing, for one, your head isn't going to move too much excessively to the right or to the left. Okay, so that's one sign. The second is that you're going to maintain basically the height of your head. It's not going to lower down. You're not going to get taller. Okay, so with your head kind of pretty still, your head kind of maintaining its height. When you get to the top of the backswing, you should be able to feel like your chest is pointed slightly upwards. Okay, you don't want to see your hips kind of moving off, kind of right or left. But if you can kind of just ensure that you maintain the height of your head kind of stays in the same place, you feel like your chest kind of points up just a little bit, then more or less you're going to be fairly close. But I'm going to show you guys a drill in just a second on how to rehearse and practice the correct amount of extensions just so you have a good feel for it. Okay, so for this drill, you're just going to need two golf clubs or two alignment sticks. Either one works. But I've placed one golf club on the ground, kind of pretty much directly in the center of my stance. And you're just going to place the other one directly across your shoulders. Okay, and you're going to hold it here like this. Now, you can make like a normal backswing wherever you are. Okay, but say you were someone that was really flexed forward. Okay, you want to turn enough to, one, just get the clubs kind of looking parallel to each other. If you're looking kind of shy of parallel, you haven't really turned enough. If you kind of turn too much, then you've actually gotten the club like too far beyond or too far past parallel with the club on the ground. I'm just more concerned if you're just not turning enough. You just want to at least get your turns to kind of parallel to the club on the ground, for one. Okay, so if you are flexed forward, now what I want you to do is, if you're in this position, I want you to slowly extend. That means you're just going to slowly point your chest upwards, very slowly, just up until you see that the club across your shoulders is pretty much or fairly close to parallel to the club that's on the ground. Okay, so if you're too flexed forward, you'll see that the shaft is kind of too far over the shaft on the ground, maybe closer towards your right foot. Okay, if you overextend, you'll see that the club is kind of on the opposite side of the club. So if you can get the club to kind of pretty much to be parallel to the club that's on the ground, then your extension will be fairly centered at that point. So after you rehearse this a couple times, maybe kind of slowly breaking it down into parts, once you have a feel for kind of where you have to kind of end up, then you can do a few rehearsals just kind of trying to get yourself in that position without having to go into your normal position and then adjust. Okay, so you can try very slowly, making sure that the club's kind of pretty much parallel to the club on the ground. All right, this is a good visual to ensure that you're turning enough and extending enough as well. Kind of like this. Okay, but then once you have a good feel for it and you know kind of approximately where your body has to be or what it feels like, then you can just grab a club and then just try to apply that same feel to your backswing. Okay, kind of like this. Okay, be sure to record yourself, or you can actually watch yourself in the mirror as well.